Hello, Apollonian Germ. This is the one video that maybe will make you be interested in my channel. I would like to convert you to cultural Hegelianism. This is what I've been trying to do for the past 6 months basically, but now I have reached a point where I have to improvise a little bit, although this video will be uploaded, so it will be structured kind of way. Apollonian Germ. Who am I? What am I? I talk about this in most of my videos, but now I have no choice but to... I mean, this is my choice, but it's complicated, but whatever. I know myself to be the whole of reality, which is what the philosopher Hegel, we'll talk about Hegel later, calls reason. And also I am the negative, which is what the Christians call the Antichrist, or Lucifer, or Satan, or etc., etc. It's complicated. So I am divided against myself. It's complicated, but I try to simplify to the utmost. Basically, I know myself since the 27th of August 2018 to be the whole of reality. I cannot deny this, but I forgot, in a way, consciously or unconsciously, and I'm still reluctant, but now, if I publish this video, and I will, it's proof that now I have no choice but to go to the end. I don't understand how it's possible, how it came into being, but basically the idea is that I know myself to be a subject, and that the objective world that I perceive only exists through the mediation of my consciousness. And the only way that I have to prove, to convince others of such a ludicrous truth, is to produce a universal speech, which will, when people will listen to what I have to say, they will acknowledge and they will recognize themselves that I know a lot about reality. I'm ignorant on many topics, but I know a lot. And that's the only way that I can explain to others a truth that I do not myself fully understand. Okay, that's for the theoretical part. Basically, I am the subject of the substance. I've been trying to communicate with you for many months and even years, because I thought, and I still think, that you know a little bit about Hegel. So if I talk about substance, negative, spirit, you should know what I'm talking about, basically. So it's kind of difficult. It will just be an introductory video because I intend to either make a live or broadcast, but here it's just an introduction. I want you see, I want you to fight in one way or another, spiritually. As of now, I don't ask you to go into a fist fight, but to punch people. No, I want you to fight intellectually, spiritually, for me. So I want us to be friends as of now, and eventually I also want you to fight against me. So I want you to be my enemy, and here I will use a Nietzsche. You are kind of Nietzschean. You can understand that friends can be enemies at some level, because in order to assert oneself, one needs an opponent. And I don't just want to confront you, but you are the smartest person in the world outside of myself. And yeah, hopefully, yeah, that's the best that I can produce as of now. And I will put a few songs to illustrate. It's basically kind of a training, because I will update this video to see how this works, if it functions properly or not. Now, first, yeah, no, I will continue my explanation. Yeah, so basically, I am the negative of the substance. The world is my own objectivity. Which brings about the question, how can there be people who are older than me? How is it possible? The only answer that I have found is to produce a universal speech, which is not yet completed, but I have posted videos on this channel over the past few days, which are as encompassing as it can get given the circumstances that I had to deal with. So basically, when my videos become famous, and eventually they will have to, people will understand that I understand them very well. And they will wonder, but how come he understands us so well? And then it might happen in a few days or a week, I don't know, but at some moment we will all realize that we are all one but separated, and we are all living in kind of a... I don't know how to express this precisely. That's one of the problems. So yeah, I will improvise. What I have understood yesterday or a few days ago, basically. In August 2018, when I had what I call my God experience, when I identified with God, basically, and I still do, but in order to try to be honest with people and to make things intelligible, there is the good God, which is the universality, and the bad God, which would be, you can call him Lucifer, the Antichrist, Satan, whatever, the negative, evil. Yeah. But yeah, what I understood a few days ago, or yesterday actually, in August 2018, when I had my God experience, I knew that there was a girl named Stell Bell. I will put the link to the only video left of her on the internet. Stell Bell. When I realized that I was the consciousness of the whole of reality, on the 27th of August 2018, the day after, on the 28th, she had a car accident. I mean, there was a car accident in the US, and she was almost hit, but she escaped without being hurt at all. And she said, what are the odds, etc. I think I posted the link, or anyway, I have the document, whatever. And she was astonished and shocked because she never expected that it would happen. And she said, God surely has plans for me. I simplify. And I had been working, I'm always working, making plans. I think that I'm planning for good, but whatever. Over the past 3 months, so in June, July, August 2018, because I knew that she was spiritually one of a kind, special, and I discovered, I remembered, or I learned, I discovered, I don't know, that she was the eternal woman, the principle of femininity. So she is kind of the proof that I am not completely delirious, because if my documents and her knowledge are confronted, it will be proven that there is no free will, basically, which is kind of useful for me, because if people are proven not to be free, that's Martin Luther, the Protestant theologian, if the absence of freedom is proven, it means that humans are innocent. And as long as people are proven not to be free, they are not guilty. And I want to, it's not that I'm the good guy, but actually I want to abolish my own evil by taking the blame for all the wrongs, and it begins by negating the guilt and the responsibility of others. We'll talk about that later. So freedom, eventually most people would like to be free, but the problem with freedom is that freedom means responsibility. It means burden, it means evil and sin, and also good, because wherever there is no freedom, there is neither sin, nor evil, nor good. People who are not free, they cannot be good or bad. They have no freedom, they are determined. So basically what I'm trying to do, probably I will have said this because I will update the video, but I'm trying to steal everyone else's freedom because I want to abolish evil, which is actually me. But so people will say, you are trying to steal our freedom, you are really evil. I would say yes, but they are worse than that, because actually at the highest level no one wants to be free, because to be free means to be responsible, and I experienced myself several times as being God or partly God, and I did not want the responsibility and the burden because it was so heavy. So even if God in the process of his development rejects responsibility, I might disagree, but I can understand why humans would do it as well. So basically, I just want to be free means to be responsible of all the problems. So that's why people want to be free for the good aspect, but not for the bad. So that's ambiguous. But at the highest level, I know that all human beings are innocent. Yeah, and yeah, that's why people, they both hate Europeans and love Europeans, because Europeans historically are the agents of freedom, and that's why everyone, or most people, blame Europeans and whites for everything which goes wrong, which is that's why it's kind of hateful. But actually, it's good, because it enables people who criticize Europeans to remove the responsibility of the problems that they encounter. So that's why there's this ambiguous relationship with freedom. So here's my plan. I want to steal the freedom of first non-Europeans, non-white, then women, because I know that at some level metaphysical women are not free. Non-Nordic, so that's in a hierarchical order, all non-Nordic whites, and eventually all non-German whites, and eventually to steal the freedom of all Germans except my own freedom. That's the end goal. So no freedom means kind of enslavement through determinism, but also no responsibility. So whoever is declared and proven not to be free, he means that he has not to feel guilty, to be ashamed, not to feel remorse, or the moral suffering vanishes the moment when determinism is proven, so to speak. There is physical suffering for a lot of people, but the moral suffering is abolished whenever someone understands that he or she has no freedom, basically. So that's yeah. I wrote that there are some Afro-Americans who are kind of special, because the Afro-American patriots and the Afro-American libertarians, or actually all non-white libertarians, but here I speak in the case of America, they have unconsciously understood what I call the idea, the plan, although they are not aware, namely that the purpose, the way I envision things, is that white, Europeans, Germans, it's distinct, but these ideas, I would say my ideas or our ideas, can only win if others acknowledge that our ideas are so great that they want or they would like to adopt them independently of us, basically. That's the idea, namely that some Afro-American patriots, they love the American Constitution, and they don't care about the fact that historically it has been a product of white Anglo-Saxon, and that the history of blacks in America has been very difficult. They don't care because they unconsciously think whether or not the proponents of the idea of the American Constitution were white, or whether the whites defend or not this idea any longer. The idea is so great that we will stand for this idea independently of our origin, because the idea was to transcend the division, basically. It's kind of complicated, but yeah. So if I can prove to humans that they are not free, it will make me feel better, because they will say, "Oh, thank God, we were not free. All the stupid things, the pretty nasty things that we did, actually it was not us, it was God playing a trick on us, or the devil, if you want." Yeah, but whoever it was, if you are not responsible, you are kind of liberated from moral suffering. And there's other kinds of suffering, but moral suffering, you are free. But whatever. So the end of the month of August is a kind of special for me. I realized yesterday that actually there have been a few women who have been very important in my life. Louison, now I will speak names because I kind of reveal myself. Louison is the girl that I fell in love with. I was in love with when I was a teenager. She's my sweetheart teenage romance. Anne-Marie, she's my biological mother. One of the problems of trying to explain that I am the whole of reality means, how did I come here? It means that the people who are older than me, they are kind of a product of my mind in a way. So I have problems with people who are older than me in general, but especially with the member of my family, because how am I supposed to prove them? Here we enter the realm of very complex. Yeah, that's why I'm taking risks, but my ideas are completely ludicrous. But in a sense, if people watch my videos about the rigorous speech, I mean, as rigorous as it can get, they will show that I understand a lot about reality. So, yeah. So, yeah, there is my teenage sweetheart, my biological mother, and Stella, who I identify with the feminine principle. And I realized yesterday that actually the feminine principle, here a little bit of metaphysical, esoteric knowledge, Mr. Evola, there's only one principle of femininity and one principle of masculinity. That's where the Chinese intervene with their philosophy. I know about the situation. That's precisely why. One of the reasons why I'm intervening, whatever. So, yeah. That could be seen as a masculine, feminine. It's more complex than that, but basically, I knew that Stella was the incarnation of the feminine principle. The yin, if you want. And so basically there is only one woman. I mean, there is one principle, and here that's a good old traditionalist metaphysics. One principle, the principle of femininity, which lives to various degrees, these are quantitative logical determinations, into each empirical women. And I knew 4 years ago that Stella was the embodiment of this pure principle. That's why I was very attracted to her, because she's a real femininity. And that's why she's very attractive for a male on a metaphysical level, because she's pure femininity. Attraction is a logical determination as well. But I realized yesterday that by reading the letters of my teenage sweetheart, that actually, here it's going to be very complex, but I speak the truth. Because she's a woman, the same principle lives in her, and the same goes with my mother, and everyone else's mother, and everyone else's daughter, sister, girlfriend, grandmother, whatever, because there's only one woman, which is a principle. I realized that the three most important women in my life, they were the same. But the one that I love the most is my teenage sweetheart. I love them differently, of course, but it's the same principle. And what I want is to be reunited with my other half. Because if I'm the whole of reality, here's a Neoplatonic philosophy plus a little bit of singularity, cosmic conspiracy. We mix that together, let us say. I know myself at some metaphysical level to be the one. Not like, oh, you're the chosen one. No, I'm the only one. Yeah. But also, I am two in one. Here it's metaphysics, okay? Metaphysics. Yin and yang. And when I am divided in two, my other half is the principle of femininity, which is Stella. And when I'm divided in three, this is the concept, what I've been talking about in my videos. Here it's more logical. It's more taken from the works of Hegel. UPS, universal, particular, singular, namely, we all share, whoever you are, we all share in common a universality, which is pure thought, particularities, namely characteristics. I will not remake, the videos are available. And singularity, what each individual human calls his own identity, psychological, empirical, historical identity, etc., what we refer to by our names. And so I am one, I am two, I am three, and I'm also an infinite multiplicity of billions of fragments of myself, other humans, and the totality of all these fragments, when they become conscious of themselves. This is God reconstructing himself, the many becoming one again. It's maybe a long-term process, but what I understood yesterday is that the same principle of femininity lives in the three most important women in my life. And yeah. And you, Apollonian Germ, what you are from a metaphysical standpoint or from a logical standpoint, you are the concept, I mean the human being, which is the most connected to me. So we are the closest. That may be the friendly aspect of our relationship. Maybe I will insert a song here. We'll see. Okay, so I will illustrate with applied practice what cultural Hegelianism was supposed to be and what eventually it will be if it becomes successful, and it has to. So here's an illustration about cultural Hegelianism. Try to use culture, pop culture, to spread complex philosophical ideas. So here's an example with Pokemon. Hopefully you know about Pokemon, Apollonian Germ. Okay, that's a failure. The sound hasn't started. I will restart. Okay. That's the training part. I want to be the very best. No one ever was. To them is my real test. To train them is my goal, or my cause, or my goal. Whatever, it's not important. I will travel across the mind, searching far and wide. To understand the power that's inside. It's you and me. I know it's my destiny. You're my best friend in a world we must defend. By revolting against a certain dubious aspect. You teach me and I teach you. You gotta catch them all, basically. Yeah. It sounded better on paper, but if it can help illustrate every challenge along the way, with courage we will face. We will battle every day, every night, to gain our rightful place. Ooh. Ooh. There's no better team. There's no better team. So, yeah. Cultural Hegelianism was supposed to be, and still is supposed to be, partly entertainment. A very specific type of entertainment. It's not always very funny, but here I will illustrate with a little bit of religion. The purpose is not to make people believe in fictional entities and fantastical events. The purpose is to educate and to distinguish the wheat from the tares. The native European tradition was a system of tests, and only the best would pass those tests and become initiated. That's the let's be friend moment. And yeah. I will edit the parts which are kind of dubious. So I will edit it. I will do a little bit of editing because otherwise, yeah. That's why it's a training program. That's why I need to work on my first or my second, I don't know, really culturally Hegelian video, because it's not yet fully adequate. Yeah, the first time is not always. I mean, strictly speaking, it's not the first time, but yeah. What did Jordan Peterson say about cleaning your room? Yeah. I'm looking for a book. I will try to stay calm. Here it is. Okay, after a little bit of editing. Yeah, you are supposed to have this book in your library, Apollonian Germ, and to have read it, and eventually it has to be available to you, because anyone can eventually read this book, but you should be able to understand. Yeah, okay. But because we are the closest, we are also kind of opposed, so that may be the enemy aspect. So I might become your enemy, and reciprocally, but I try to be fair, and I have shared as many information, logical, conceptual, and personal. I have shared very embarrassing, very personal information on the internet for anyone. Okay, I will introduce a little bit of editing. Okay, I will talk about the concepts UPS. Universal is the pure thought, the realm of the mind, of the spirit, and in the universality all humans are equal if they elevate themselves to the level of universality. P means the particularities, the characteristics which every human being, every singular human, every individual has, age, origin, social status, occupation, gender, anthropological determinations, etc., etc. And S means the singular, namely what people call their identity as individuals. And one of the missions that I want you, Apollonian Germ, but actually everyone watching this, but I'm speaking to Mr. Germ particularly, to help conquer as many concepts as possible, namely to awaken people by sharing knowledge, and also if you understand people more than they understand themselves, you can control them for good or bad, but the purpose is for good, namely to liberate them. And yeah, so here is one of the missions that I want you to help me implement as a friend. So that's the let's be friends moment. I want you to awaken yourself in the coming days, let us say. Here I cannot envision, but in the coming days I want you to watch my videos or to hear about my message somehow, but watch my videos and basically to assert your spiritual and intellectual self, namely to conquer others by showing to them that you understand them more than they understand themselves. Okay, that's the theoretical explanation. And now a little bit of illustration, which may bring success to cultural Hegelianism as a religion, a philosophy, an ideology, I don't know. Okay, another illustration. Hegel's phenomenology is a rite of initiation and an alchemical transmutation. The original calling of man to be an image of God can be realized only through cognition. Yeah, basically Hegel, in alchemy, making gold involves breaking base metals down to their primal elements and then raising them up to the perfect. Okay, I will try to spread my message. Apollonian Germ. We are the most closest together, so we are also the most opposed. and you are the most intelligent. And when I'm not completely dumb, I am even more intelligent than you. That's complicated. I want you to watch my videos, and I'm gonna have a problem with myself actually, but I'm gonna have a problem with pagans because I'm a Christian. But actually the pagans, they are anti-Christian, but they are the ones who bring about Christianity by trying to negate Christianity, because Christianity is the religion of negation, and so is paganism. That's why they are different, but nonetheless they're identical. That's complicated. But yeah, I will sing a song. I'm acting and playing a role, but actually I've been thinking about this alone in my room, so now I will share this. Just to illustrate what cultural Hegelianism was supposed to be, and maybe will still be, is. Yeah. The Bible is on my side this time. Let's turn this day into a fucking mayhem. You staying with me? Don't let me lose you. I'm not trying to confuse you. It's a little bit confusing, but you get the message. Take some Philip K. Dick, some Hegel, some Nietzsche. You mix that together, you got the most entertaining religion you can think of. It's a fight to the top to see who's willing to die for the spot. What do you know about death threat? Because maybe when my video becomes successful, I will get a lot of death threats, but yeah. I want you first to watch my videos. The latest, most of them, are the best in terms of intellectual content. I want you to preserve them. Yeah. And there will be conflicts because the whole world is in tension, because my mind is in conflict, because guess why? The priority as of now is to protect the American Constitution. Yeah, because without freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of association, there is no knowledge. Without knowledge, God cannot become conscious of himself. And without God, even the atheist would be miserable. I will not make a lecture on this book. Michael, you are supposed to know, you are supposed to have the book. But basically, God, it's valid for the pagans as well. Without knowledge, there can be no God, and without God becoming conscious of himself, there can be no other thing. So I speak here in the name of the European pagan community, we have to take over basically the government, because we are much more smarter. We are much smarter. We are not as educated as they are, but education, sometimes it's better to revolt against the modern educational system. Yeah. there will be troubles in America, because America is the most conflicted country on earth, but the purpose is to remove the idiots from power, and to prevent the people from mindlessly arguing with one another. It's very difficult. I will insert, it's very difficult. I tried to communicate, I failed in time. This is my responsibility. It's complicated, but basically, if I have to take sides, and eventually I will have to, I am on the side of the zeitgeist, namely the Nordic, the brackets are important, libertarian Protestant spirit. As you can notice, there is no reference to race. The spirit is Nordic, but the race can be any race. It will be important, because I have some conflicted tendencies. And I explain here very simply the redemption for pagans, because revolting against Christianity is a sin. Even though you are determined, it's complicated, okay? But basically, I will use the pagan community, and I will turn them into Christians, because I have to become a Christian, a good Christian. Is that, was it determined? I don't know, or is it a divine intervention? At this point, they coincide, but let's forget determinism for now. I have to become a good Christian, namely a spiritual Christian, and basically I have to struggle with many contradictions, many conflicts, but basically the priority as of now is to implement, preserve, protect, spread free speech, because one way of solving conflicts and troubles and problems is through communication, speech, exchange of thoughts. Most of the problems, if not all of the problems of the world, derive from a lack of mutual understanding. But in order to be able to communicate and explain one another without too much problems, there has to be free speech, and the United States of America are the keepers of free speech. There's a lot to say about free speech, but precisely because it's free, so there's a lot to say. That's the priority. That's how I envision things. It's complicated. I cannot pretend that I am completely good, but I am very bad, but not as bad as, but it's complicated. I don't want to play the role of the bad guy, because I am naturally very dark and selfish, but also I have good aspects and I can be brilliant. But there are lots of contradiction in me. I have frustration that I try to keep for myself, but it's problematic. It's difficult. I try to do what I can. I deserve to be judged. But basically the priority is to protect free speech. Because eventually people have to watch my videos. Some of them, whatever. I will do a little bit of editing, then I publish the video, then I improvise. I will not sleep a lot. Could be worse, but Okay, we're the 29th of August 2022, and here where I stand in France, it's 23:30, and I have decided to produce one last video, at least where I upload the content, and then I will try to speak directly, broadcast live. I still have to improvise a little bit, but this will be my last probably video in which I update the content. This is a video for the people whose name appear on the list. Cultural Hegelianism, that's me here. This is Stell Bell, Apollonian Germ, Dr. Deep State, Jean Robin, Hyperborean Reflections, Easter Tidings, Pagan Revival, Forgotten Roots, Marie Cachet, Thulan Perspective, Survive the Jive, Arith Ärger, Oleg, Pagans TV, Scarlett Ravenswood, The World Tree, The Golden One, Keith Woods, Philosophicat, Hermetic Kitten, You Are Here, but yeah, these are the names of some European gods and goddesses, one might say. And in this video I will try to explain as briefly as possible what European gods, European or not European, but it happens that all the people on this list, with the exception of these two who are more Christians, but all the other they have, maybe Stella, but most of the other have gone through the path of paganism. And this is my current view of the European Pantheon. But like I said, these people, they are more, strictly speaking, Christian. I mean, Christian in the sense that they are beyond Europe. As of now, these people, they are European thinkers. They are traditionalists, but they haven't gone through the path of paganism. And these people, either they have not gone through the path of paganism, or they have, but they have transcended. So yeah, the strictly speaking, the European Pantheon, as I envision this as of now, would be these people. Yeah. So, how does one attain divine consciousness? Human beings contain 3 moments. Every human being. So no, it's valid for every human being. Every human being is a singular individual with a personal identity, psychology, personal history, personal memory, etc., etc., which contains in himself or in herself particularities. This is the moment of Besonderheit, and here I have listed a few examples of particularities of the soul, namely anthropological characteristics, sexual characteristics, the physiognomy, psychoanalytical characteristics, etc. In the realm of psychology, all the representation that a human being has had or have, his or her social identity, his psychological characteristics, emotions, character, temper, tendency, habits, etc. The IQ, his or her own language, his mastery of language, vocabulary, native language, etc. And here you can see in the realm of objectiver Geist, which is the realm of institution, these are particularities, but every singular individual has gone through a certain educational path, official or not official, is born in an official family, has a certain set of morality which has been imposed onto him for good or bad by society. He is a member of a given generation, so he shares the cultural representation of a given generation. He comes from a certain background, a social class, which determines his way of talking, might determine his social identity and his psychology, etc. His economic role, whether he's a worker, a student, retired, a beggar, a CEO, whatever role, his political views, and his country of citizenship. These are moments of objective spirit, for lack of a better translation. And finally, absoluter Geist, which means absolute spirit. Here, each individual has artistic inclinations, religious views, even if he or she is an atheist, scientific knowledge, and philosophical views. So I try to teach the philosophy of Hegel. Oh yeah, I wrote it. They are spiritual because they are kind of traditionalists. I mean, these two people here, they are European, and here it's not that they are necessarily Christian, but they have gone beyond. They are truly universal in their intelligence and view. Yeah, so that's the logic of the classification. So yeah, every human being is a singular individual with particularities, and in order to attain what we call spiritual awareness or divine consciousness, one as a singular individual has to become aware of most or a lot, or if not all of the determinations which characterize or give the singular its own concrete identity, namely these are just examples, but these particularities are valid for every singular individual, whatever his or her origin, gender, physical characteristic, language, intelligence, religion, country, etc., etc. But in order to attain divine consciousness, the singular has to reflect upon his own particularities, to study. It is done unconsciously. Namely, it's a process, what we call the red pill, consists in, for singular individuals to acquire knowledge and an understanding of their particularities, because the particular are singularized, and by learning about various particularities, namely economics, class struggle, the differences between the generations, the woke ideology, and all the debates, etc., etc., what is taught in the educational system, the question about religion, paganism, Christianity, atheism, etc., etc., debate about men and women, etc. People think that they learn about themselves as individuals, or even about their society, which is true, but it's also universal in a sense that the universal exists through its particularization. It limits itself, it particularizes itself into various categories. But I will just give one example. When scientists in the modern Western world study IQ or economics or gender differences from a socio-biological standpoint, one might think, if we are aware of this, that this happens just in the context of the modern Western world, etc. But actually, it's universal knowledge which is being produced, namely what people talk about, the psychological determination of the mind, which someone like Mr. Peterson discusses on the internet. It's universal knowledge in the sense that any thinking human, and thought, pure thought would be the moment of universality, any individual human, independently of the particularities which characterize him or her, can learn about the knowledge which is being produced. This is the process that is called the red pill, but by people who embark upon this, namely that people in the West, through the mediation of the internet, but also books and the news, etc. But what is important is that knowledge is being made manifest and widespread and can be communicated immediately at the speed of light, one might say, because it's electromagnetic waves within the circuitry, but whatever, can become immediately shared all over the world. And knowledge, if it is true, if it is universal, it is not valid only for the singular or the particular, but for every thinking human. That's what people do not see or do not yet understand. And that's why, strictly speaking, at the highest level, there is only one mind, which is the mind of God, but this one mind has to become aware of itself through a process of elevation, which is what people call the red pill. And I have gone through this path, and if your name is on this list, we'll see later, you have gone through the path as well. And I have gone from the singular to the universal, and now I have to go back down to share the broad view with others. And yeah, that's the story in 10 minutes. Now I will go into a little bit more detail. Yeah, so here is how I envision what I call the hierarchy of divine intelligence. It's still vague in my mind, and it might slightly change. Yeah, so here are the names of people on YouTube with whom I am spiritually connected. And probably if you watch this, you know that I identify my mind with God, basically, or with reason, or with maybe Odin, for the people who know only about the religious view. But actually it's a reason, strictly. It's not really God, although it is. It's kind of complicated, but let's call this reason. Yeah, so yeah, these are the people whose name appear here. And the hierarchy means I have the certainty that when I'm intelligent, I'm the most intelligent. I'm not the most knowledgeable on various topics, but I'm the most intelligent. Stell Bell, she's the most intelligent female individual in the world. Apollonian Germ, hopefully you will watch this video eventually. You are the smartest outside of myself, basically. I can't, you are the smartest, the most intelligent, and yeah. Dr. Deep State and Jean Robin, they are kind of, they are Christians. They have gone, they have, I don't know, and I don't understand how they were converted, how they reached such a high level without the intermediary stuff. I don't really understand, but whatever. And they are kind of the associates of Apollonian Germ, in a way one could say. So he's their boss. I give you employees, Apollonian Germ. You can exploit them. Not too much, but okay, I try to make jokes because the situation is kind of difficult. But what I mean is, there is a world, namely here is the country of empirical location, and world means that the knowledge that you possess is really valid for all, that you are agents of what I call objective spirit. Here this would be absolute Geist, here would be objective Geist, and here these are people who are restricted, strictly speaking, to the knowledge of Europe, but they produce universal knowledge. But as of now, their realm of expertise has to remain Europe, maybe with the exception of Forgotten Roots, because he's kind of a traditionalist, so he's partly European but partly beyond. And the same goes for Philosophicat, who is partly Hindu. I mean, she's not Hindu, but she studies Hindu philosophy, so it goes partly beyond Europe. But these people, they are really European gods and goddesses. And yeah, Scarlett Ravenswood and Arith Ärger, their specificity is that they have not gone through strictly the right-wing path. Like, they are kind of left-wing pagans. I mean, they are not, but they are not. They do not talk about the right-wing moments of paganism, and the others they do. And the reason why these people have had spiritual experiences, at least I'm sure that these people and Forgotten Roots, but because they have gone through the same path as I have, as Apollonian Germ has, Stell Bell, etc., etc. So yeah, and Keith Wood, he's a traditionalist. Maybe he can climb up the ladder. I don't know. It's not yet fixed. That's how I envision things as of now. But yeah. So here's the mission that I have for you. Whether you want this mission or not, I am not in a mood to debate. We will debate, but as of now, I give you a mission. I want you, as long as you experience yourself as individual free agents, we'll talk about free agency later, I want you to collect, structure, organize informations about your native country and all the countries whose language you understand. Yeah. This is why I simplified with giving the name. I want you to collect, structure, and organize informations about Europe. It's not necessarily valid for these two people. You don't really have to. And even, well, it's kind of, we'll discuss that later. And collect, structure, and organize informations about the world. Namely, if it's clear, Europe is a particular spiritual, geographic, anthropological entity, but the particular is only a moment of the universal. So whatever is true of a particularity is only particularly true, but it also contains a moment of universality. But one cannot reach the universal without the mediation of the singular and the particular. This is Hegel's philosophy simplified in a few sentences. So that's what I would like you to do. And eventually, because you already are some of the most intelligent people on this planet, but when you become aware that you will become powerful and knowledgeable, and you will have to assert your spiritual knowledge, in the sense that the purpose eventually at some moment is to is to say, okay, let the people who are really smart take things into their own hands. Eventually, I will have to take all things into my own hands. But as of now, I am not intelligent, strong, wise, knowledgeable enough to take the entire responsibility of the entire world into just my own mind as an individual. As of now, if I were really heroic, whatever, I could do that, but actually I know that I am not smart enough, so I have to share with my associate. I won't say that there won't be problems and arguments and even conflicts with some, if not all of my associates, but as of now, we will share knowledge, and yeah, that's what I can say. Okay, so what are the instructions? I wrote this a few days ago, and I just checked. The end goal, basically, is to achieve a peace, basically. But I'm a Hegelian, and I understand that peace cannot be thought about without conflict or even war or struggle, at least. Geopolitical peace, political peace, psychological peace, intellectual, and finally ontological. And I believe, maybe I'm deluding myself, but that would be a good news actually for others, that I can only find peace if every human being in the world is at peace with himself, with others, with God, with nature, with the world, with himself, with me, etc., etc. So the long-term goal for me is simply I want to find ontological peace, because I suffer from contradictions, and I want stability, rest, tranquility, etc. That's really the end goal. So, but in order to achieve this end goal, all other intermediary steps, and maybe even more, have to be achieved. Well, I want to save as many idiots as possible. And if you are on this list, you are not idiots. I mean, you are partly stupid because you are not as intelligent as I am, but I am also my own idiot in the sense that I do not understand myself very well sometimes. So to save idiots means to preserve their life to the greatest extent possible, but also to give them access to knowledge without them having to go through the difficult path that I know a lot of you have gone through. Namely, to try to spare them the negative moments, if that's possible. That's one of the goals. I want Germany to win, but I am not, I will develop that, I am not an insane, I mean, not now at least, but hopefully I won't be an insane German imperialist. I want Germany to win by letting others win. My vision of winning means I can only, which is actually the truth, I can only win, I can only feel good about myself if I have the feeling, the certainty, the belief that the others, find their fair share of satisfaction, one might say. So it's not Germany above über allem or über allen, it's Germany über alles. Germany before anything else, not above everyone else. It's not a good old-fashioned German imperialism, or hopefully it won't be, because that would be problematic. But the purpose, my vision, is that what I call Germany is Europe even higher, so to speak. So I want Germany to win, but we and I can only win if others win as well, as many as possible. Yeah. And the strength, the German will, the German strength, and the German intelligence have to be used to try to accept human beings as they are, not to envision a super biological race of superhumans, but to accept that human beings are partly flawed because they are made in the image of God, and since I intend to identify with God at some moment, they are made in my own image, so they suffer from my own flaws. So I have to find the strength and the will to accept, knowing that there's room for improvement, and I'm trying to spread improvement. I want a universal Reich of spirits. So that's universal. It's not Germanic, strictly speaking, but because it's universal, it's a Reich, and there are spirits, it's German. But it's German only because it's because of these reasons, basically. But I want Germany to win. I'm quite cunning. I can be stupid, but cunningly stupid, or stupidly cunning, or simply just intelligent sometimes. Short-term goals. I want free speech everywhere eventually, because the problem with free speech, very briefly, is that freedom implies responsibility, but I want people to be allowed to express themselves and to lash out their anger against me eventually. But free speech is a short-term goal. Kindness, but no weakness. I will try, and I advise everyone not to needlessly threaten anyone. It's not in my best interest. It's not in anyone's best interest. So needlessly threatening people, it's wrong. So let us try to be calm as long as possible. Here are the rules. The higher the knowledge or the intelligence, the higher the responsibility. Knowing that, in my view, males are more responsible than women. So women, no matter how high they might be, male responsibility is higher. So yeah, but that's how I envision things now. So if or when people wake up, the higher, and the hierarchy can change, and other people can be integrated, but that's how I envision things. The higher you are on the scale, the more responsible you are, knowing that eventually, whatever goes wrong, you can blame it on me, but I'm not yet strong, smart, wise enough to accept all the blames, because I'm partly ignorant still. So yeah, here's my message for everyone actually, but especially for European Germanic men. Try to endure the suffering, and for women, it's valid as well for women, but okay. Now, I wrote this over the past couple of hours. What do I fight for? This is my reason for fighting, for being. This is my reason. I think that most people agree with this, because innocent love, it's a parent for his children. Innocent romantic love, it's teenagers loving one another, basically. So yeah, that's why we are partly, I speak for myself, we are partly the bad guys, but also the good guys, because we fight for so that's that's the reason why I do what I do. It's I'm clear. As long as I am clear with this, I know why I am doing whatever crazy, stupid decision that I might have taken, or whatever. This is my reason, and this is the universal reason, maybe. So all these reasons are actually one, but my view is that this is the most important. But freedom. That's why there are mostly white European people on this list, if not only, because we have to win by letting others win. The best example that I found is Afro-Americans who say, the American Constitution, we don't care if it was made by whites who imposed slavery and discrimination on us, because the idea is so great that it will survive, even if whites are no longer there to fight for this idea, or even if... the best thing is that if whites and blacks and all people can fight together to defend a great idea, but a great idea is universal, precisely. It's that's why it is divine, so to speak. But the universal can only exist through its particularization. But basically simplifying, I want us, or I want to win by letting others win. It doesn't mean let us be weak and tolerate any kind of nonsense, but it simply means that real success means the other has to acknowledge our own success. There has to be equality of spirits, basically. That's the vision. That's why racism is so problematic, because whites and Europeans and Germans, basically, they have to win by transcending the problem of race. So that's the best way I found, namely to win spiritually. It implies all sorts of problems, but yeah, when it's in orange, these are problems that I will have to solve. It's difficult, but yeah, that's why the American Constitution. So yeah, I'm not the new Hitler in the sense that it's not Germany, white, blonde, blue-eyed Germans want to conquer, etc. It's partly that, but it's not. The purpose is not to create a super biological new race. It's to bring forth a spiritual race, which, because it is spiritual, eventually it can become universal. And that's why the American Constitution is sacred and holy. Yeah. But the problem with the American Constitution, it's the problem with freedom. It enables freedom, but also moral degeneracy. That's one problem, one contradiction. I tend to associate what is most sacred for me with the idea of moral purity. It can be dubious, but that's how I think that things were pure and morally pure when I was a teenager, before things started to degenerate. So I have a problem with degeneracy, of which I am responsible, but I have a problem with this aspect of myself. That's why I have to try to solve this difficult problem, namely to find a proper balance between order and acceptance of kind of going astray, because this is implied in the concept of freedom. So it's kind of difficult, but I will handle as best as I can. Yeah, so I wrote a negative negation has to be limited to the maximum. Negating people, namely erasing people violently, or it's not the proper way of doing. It's very difficult to avoid, but this is not how negation functions. I wrote this: nihilism in the name of moral purification is still nihilism. Fanatical moral purity, it's not. There's a problem. Nietzsche knew that, so here I used the help of Nietzsche. So the purpose is to bring about moral regeneration without, or limiting to the maximum, the negative, nihilistic. Yeah, I cannot express better. Here, Caroline, you are very useful here, so I will use you. You can, if you're not happy, you can complain in one way or another. But basically, you understand this, because what I want and what you want as an individual, and what a lot of people want, but I know that you understand this very well. Basically, what I want is to fight until we recover our greatest self, which is the innocent self that you lost, I lost, and many people lost. That's the purpose, basically. One of the goals. Okay. Also, a collective annihilation of mankind, whatever happens with the geopolitical tension. That's not the purpose, strictly speaking, because although in the long run the world will have to vanish eventually at some point, because everything will be reabsorbed into the unity of the one. But it's not very clear. But basically, collective reciprocal annihilation through the cosmic drama, etc. That's not really what's supposed to happen, because yeah, I want a one world government with as many citizens as possible in it. If there are no citizens, or not enough, there can be no one world government. So basically, life has to be preserved, and all races, all religions, all cultures, all nations, etc. So yeah, I said that's why the real God is not dumb. Because that's why the United States of America and France and all the countries in which people who appear in this list are kind of protected against the threat of nuclear annihilation, because the people on the list, they have to receive my message, basically. So yeah, yeah. So that's why there might be some pretty tough struggles, but these countries, at least they are protected for now, and maybe for I don't know for how long, but they will be protected because at least some of these people have to receive my message, because yeah, it has to happen basically. Okay, let us continue. Yeah, also about the problem of an economic collapse or political chaos. I've been thinking about this, how to try to prevent this, because if or when people understand that there's an individual who is kind of the consciousness of the totality, that basically there is a living God or living gods, or good or bad, but living gods within reality, reality will change. I try to anticipate this, but basically I've come to a point where I just have to improvise while trying to be as rigorous and serious as possible, namely that it will be difficult, but there cannot be a complete chaos simply because the people on this list, they have to receive my message. So you have to find yourself Apollonian Germ, probably Stella, Hyperborean, Caroline, and many others, maybe, to find yourself in a situation where you can, at least in the coming days or week, I don't know, really at this point I don't know, where you find yourself in a position where you can watch at least some of my videos. The most recent one are the most intellectually developed, but yeah, and try to understand at least, yeah, so in the short term there has to be some stability, yeah, but because you have to receive at least parts of my message, or my message. Yeah, I wrote it at some moment, I guess, that I will realize that human beings are my children in a way, which is kind of ludicrous, but at this moment it's too complicated, but I can only yeah, here it's really complicated. That's what I've been thinking about for many months or many years. It's really complicated, so yeah. Okay, put it simply, the political goals: simplify the economy, reduce the working hours, dismantle many institutions, liberate people from ignorance, and imprison the prisoners and the mentally insane. And here I explain very simply, because if there is no free will, and I know that for humans there is no free will, and at least for the others, the people who are in prison, in mental asylum, they are not free, they have been determined. So eventually, if a divine order is restored, these people will have to be set free and to be cured. But also those who put them in their place, they were not free either, so that's why it's complicated. I came to a point where I have just to share my knowledge and to kind of improvise and not try to control everything, because it brings maybe more problems than whatever. So, and also, so simplify, reduce, dismantle, liberate, but also improve, if possible, the means of communication. There might be some difficult moments, but the goal, the end purpose eventually is to implement simplified life economically. But then there's the question of the unity of all things, the birth of spirit. So here I wrote what I thought a person motivated by good would say, given the difficulty of the circumstances, but whatever. Yeah, what kind of excuse? Buddhism, death is liberation, the end of earthly suffering, etc., etc. So here it's really a cunning for good. It's very cheap, but yeah, I don't know, because I don't know what there is after death, whether I don't know, so whatever. I trust the writings of Hegel. Where there is no life, there is no pain, there is no movement. So maybe death is liberation. I don't know, genuinely, I don't know, but God is too busy trying to solve his own problems to think about, will I punish this guy because he was not a very hardcore Muslim or Christian or whatever, or he forgot to go to church. Honestly, I have so many problems at this moment that I don't care if... that's why people... Maybe I will make this clear at the beginning of the video, but I am not here to judge people, although I will, because I'm dishonest, but I'm here to be judged by others. So I try to solve many problems. I try to bring a little bit of humor. which is true actually. 6 months ago, I was just an ignorant, partly an ignorant accountant. I learned from studying accountancy that the purpose is to seek balance in order to make a profit. Yeah, I reformulate. I have no moral problem. Then I might have physical problems, but no moral problem with the idea of conflict, which eventually at some level becomes war. But if the fighters know what they are fighting for, and my vision of war is kind of spiritual, I have no empirical weapons except a very limited one, but I have no moral problem if the people who are in the fight, they know what they are doing. And I fight because I want to be at peace, basically. And also because I want to recover my most precious memory. Also, to Apollonian Germ, basically, the reason why I restarted this channel was simply to tell you, I want you to help me prevent ignorant white Russians from murdering ignorant white Ukrainians, or reciprocally. But actually, I just want to I will be honest, I want people who don't know what they are doing, I want them to stop, either to stop doing anything, or to learn, or whatever, if you don't know what you're doing, I mean, I at this level, I don't really know what I'm doing either, but if you really, people in the lowest echelons of the hierarchy, just stop your nonsense, because you don't know what you're doing. Let the people who know more take care of the problem. It's valid for the elite, for the ignorant people. That's why I will try, maybe we will try to implement this, but yeah, I improvise. But it's not completely improvised. I've been thinking about this for many weeks, many months. Yeah. So here that was about the question of freedom. And finally, the fifth point, which is actually the third, because the three moments of love, they are one. So there is love, freedom, and life. Love is sacred, especially in innocent, romantic love. But love is sacred. Freedom is holy or sacred. Example, the American Constitution, which guarantees freedom of association, freedom of speech, etc., etc. And finally, life is holy or sacred. That's written in most religious books. I will not pretend that, oh, I love all humans, but maybe the real God does. I certainly don't, because I don't know almost anything about most of humans. But every human is precious and sacred because he contains information. And eventually, if people could share their story, they would probably, oh, you are actually a very interesting human being, etc. That would be the happy ending, if there is a happy ending. But basically, human life really is sacred. I understood this a few weeks ago or a few months. So that's why the casualties have to be limited. And if there are too many casualties, it's my failure, and I will suffer from my own failure if I fail. I have to fail at some moment, but actually, I have to succeed at some moment, because the way I envision things is I have kept failing in all of my endeavors almost. But what I want to say is that really the good aspect in me wants to preserve life, because we are all modes of God, and God can only acquire full knowledge of himself, which the knowledge brings power, which brings about the possibility of preserving what is most precious, or recreating or creating what is most valuable. For me, I said what it was. Yeah, so I reformulate. The problem with love is that it implies not love, and even hatred and suffering. The problem with freedom is that it enables sin, but also redemption. Absence of freedom is beyond good and evil. Freedom can be used for good or evil. If it is used for evil, there has to be a redemption. But if people are proven not to be free, they are neither sinful nor in need of redemption. They are just beyond good and evil, and which may be good if the evil has been abolished. So that's why I'm trying to steal people's freedom. Yeah. And life is sacred, but life implies struggle and death. So there's the good, the positive, and what people call the negative, which, I mean, it's not negative, but if love, freedom, and life are the three most important gifts, one might say, they imply their opposite within themselves at some moment. So, yeah. And in all cases, I wrote, there is pain, either moral, physical, or both. I have to accept this, but and here I have a reassuring message. That's how I try to find a peace of mind and tranquility, so I use my own tools, I share them with you. If we really are gods and goddesses, we can handle the problems. We've gone through worse, or maybe we haven't, but whatever. If we are gods, we can handle the situation. It will be difficult, but we can handle. We always have, we will always. That's the kind of idea that I sell to myself when I really was kind of anxious or depressed. So it might not help, but maybe it might help. Here's a little bit of music. To all the others, whatever goes wrong for you, whoever you are, put the blame on the European gods. No, more seriously, put the blame on me. And I will be dishonest because I don't want to be blamed for everything which goes wrong, because I'm not in a complete possession of my intelligence and wisdom, so I will blame others eventually, but I am being dishonest. I try to be as honest as I can, but look, it's difficult because I don't really still know why or how I came here. Was it conscious? Is it it's difficult, but basically everyone can put the blame on me for whatever goes wrong, and that's why I might be angry, as they call this, negative, because I don't want to be blamed, but at the same time I don't want to be dishonest, so there is this contradictory tendency. But whatever wrong has gone in your life, put the blame on me. Maybe I will enjoy it, maybe at some moment I won't enjoy it, and it might become very difficult for me and for most of us, but I try to solve the problems. When I feel really difficult mood, I find inspiration and courage in this song. I will try to be stable as long as I can, but yeah. So that was that's what I wrote over the past couple of hours, and yeah. So yeah. To simplify, maybe because I will make an intro to this video. I will update before I post the video. Maybe the last one where I do this. My problem is because it's simply expressed that I knew that I could not share my truth before, because this is kind of insane. I still don't completely understand because it's so ludicrous. But before being able to produce a universal speech which would bring about the proof, or at least the structure which would show that I can understand. If I am allowed to talk and speak calmly, I can prove that I understand everyone. If I'm not, because of the circumstances, my system, I would say, will survive me, basically. And that's the purpose, that my idea shall survive my own negation. That's the best that I can think of, maybe to be negated, because part of me want to preserve myself, but also to negate myself because of the moral suffering as of now. It will probably become worse, but I would like to negate myself while surviving my own negation, and this is what's called the idea. I don't know what will happen really. Spirit, consciousness, I don't know, but I have come to a point where I have produced the formal structure of the universal speech with my own biased, distorted, sometimes for the people who are in a good position, they will find this genuinely comical. Some will find that I have some very dubious views. Some people will be pretty pissed off, I can only imagine, but I will stand by myself, because there's no one else to stand by, basically, at some level. But yeah, so I've done my part. I will continue struggling against everyone, against myself, but yeah, that's what I could say now in 50 minutes. So now I will just make an introduction. No, I will just conclude by saying I suffer because I hurt the people that I love, and this makes me suffer. And I love people, then I hurt them, and then I feel compassion for the people who have been hurt, so I start to love the people who are hurt, but actually I suffer. And yeah, it's not a justification. Maybe it's not, but that's just how I function. Maybe I suffer, and I try to I want what I love the most, namely Europe, white people party. I love Europe more than whites. I love Germany maybe more than Europe, or maybe I love Europe more than Germany. I don't know, but I want Europeans to win, but not against others, with others, and this implies that there has to be a sacrifice, and I have no choice, or maybe I do. I will have to sacrifice myself, and to sacrifice others consciously. This is my responsibility. I will have shared some of knowledge that can be used against me if or when I become too negative, too threatening, too insane, maybe. That's why the people who know about European traditions as expressed in the form of religion, that there are conflicts in the European pantheons between the gods and the goddesses. They are always arguing. Very annoying, these deities, one might say. Yeah. So this is the hierarchy of intelligence as I envision this. Maybe I'm deluding myself, but I'm sure that at this level, I'm sure that the principle living in these people, at least, is the highest. I'm sure that he has to collaborate with Apollonian Germ. These two people, I know that they are the smartest Europeans because they have gone through the same path. But Apollonian Germ and I and Stella, we are also Europeans, but beyond these people, it's strictly just European intelligence. But because the particular and the universal, etc., I will not redevelop. And then it can evolve, people can be incorporated, but yeah, that's how I envision. Yeah. And now I will just show this again, but the purpose basically is peace, to attain peace, and in order for peace to be achieved, there has to be peace at all levels, basically. I cannot simplify more, so I will make an intro, then I will drink a glass of water, and then I will improvise, and I will improvise. With all the knowledge that I have accumulated, I will try to share my knowledge, but yeah, whatever happens, you can put the blame on me, and I will suffer from this, but maybe at some level it will make me happy, because if I can abolish human suffering that eventually I am the cause of, but if I can abolish the suffering of others, it will partly abolish my own suffering, and that may be one way for me of finding peace. So I think that we will have to talk eventually, but if we don't, well, I have admired most people in blue. The higher I have admired most people in blue, and I have loved most the people in pink, through various modes of loving. But one of the questions that I've asked myself is, can you say that you really love someone that you have never talked to, never encountered, never met, who does not even know that you exist, or who knows only because, yeah, precisely these people know that my spirit exists, that's why they are here, but basically my question is, can you love someone that you've never talked to or never encountered or whatever? That's why I'm still in that basically this explains why yeah, I cannot make things clearer, basically. But I believe that at some level we are a spiritual community, and we have to conquer the world spiritually. That's how I envision things. So my conflict, my war, my struggle will be spiritual, But spirit is connected with everything else. But I will try to limit to the realm of spirit as long as possible, and whatever. If I have to be honest, that's how I will conclude my video. But my greatest experience is this, and this was only made possible because there was an other, but the other is the source and the cause of all suffering. But eventually I have to say thank you to any other you because of my experience. So yeah, that's cheap. I can anticipate. Oh, that's kind of cheap. Yeah, it is. But alchemy, lead, gold, it's cheap. It has to become of high value, etc., etc. Basically, let's see what happens. But yeah, eventually, my channel will have to be successful. Yeah, so the short-term instruction, basically watch some of my videos. The most recent are the most intellectually developed. Take the time, whatever happens, if you find yourself in a circumstance, take the time to watch my videos, and then trust your own intelligence, your own judgment to judge me, and eventually to collaborate with me to a certain extent, and to compete against me to another extent. I can only make anticipations, but I will stop anticipating. I have said what I had to say. Now I will make an introduction, and then we'll see. We will see.